everyone. Welcome to the Prickly Pear Show.
We're back.
It is, well, you're back. I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, but we're back as the show is back in place.
Yeah,
that's back. So, yes, I know you're a little bit
March
jealous.
24th.
Are you clapping because of?
2 weeks for my birthday, bitches.
Okay, so people actually sit there and know that it's your birthday.
The
and that's
ones
why you're
that
clapping.
care about me know.
All right, so that one person who's watching the show, which happens to be your boyfriend, is watching and saying, yay.
Hopefully he's watching.
I thought you were excited about the spring. I thought you were excited about the summer.
It's true.
I didn't think that you were excited about your birthday.
We sprung forward, did we not?
We did a little bit too early. Is it always
well,
around the same time?
I was actually thinking about, well, no, it's usually around this time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I look a lot darker. I can see myself. Look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look so fucking pale compared to you.
Yes.
Like it's ridiculous.
We
have a guest sitting next to us.
What?
I don't
Oh,
want to do
hey!
that. Hi. In case you didn't recognize, we don't have any camera people here. This is literally just recording. So this is Rivka Campbell.
Hello.
She is our beautiful guest. She's going to be with us the whole show, the whole little bit. I was going to say hour, but we might go longer.
We will
never
go
know.
longer. Today there's a lot to talk
Yeah,
about.
there's a lot to cover because I want to hear about your trip. I want to know what happened and how many times and who with and all sorts of things.
Right. Yeah, so I'm only going to provide the PG version of my trip because clearly I can't go into details.
I'm going to be hearing other things after.
Afterwards, yes. No, this was an exciting trip. It was all about serenity, meditation.
Serenity now and sanity later.
Yes. The truth is I'm pretty happy to be back, even though I really enjoyed myself and it was such an eye-opening experience to be with myself.
How so?
Just a lot of things started to make sense to me. And
like?
I go from place... I'm kind of like, it's like, you're sitting here like,
You've been gone for a while, and I'm just trying to figure things out.
No, I don't know. I felt that things just make sense.
Mind.
Things just make sense. And I looked at it as sort of like, the seasons, right? So, you have summer, you have spring, you have fall, and there's changes. And you have to accept the fact that there's a change. You can move, but you know what? Then it's going to rain in the summer. And then it's going to be cold. And then it's going to be... So you just have to kind of roll with the punches and enjoy it and appreciate those days that are great. Appreciate things that are amazing already. I try to practice mindfulness. I went with a friend who was rooming with me most of the time. And, when you're with a stranger in the same room in Thailand and he wants to do one thing and you want to do another thing and
it's
both
hard.
want to do the same thing.
Yep.
That's not the PG stuff.
Read into that. Just dig deep, everyone.
Just dig deep into it.
Dig deep into your
double deep. It was just a very, very interesting experience, and the beaches were wonderful on my birthday.
I have pictures in case anyone wants to see, but just come see me because I ain't sending them.
You have pictures of me being on that trip?
Yeah,
no,
the ones that you sent me.
No. So the Facebook world got to see all the good stuff, the beaches,
No, I'm pretty sure I got the good stuff.
I don't think so. Trust me, I don't think so. But anyways, it was just amazing. I celebrated my 40th birthday there, so that's really why I went. I wanted to do it with my family, but I wanted to do something special for myself. And I've been wanting to do Thailand for a very long time, and this was the opportunity.
How was the food?
Incredible. Every aspect was incredible. Even the bad stuff were incredible. Like even getting stopped by the border, searches.
Why?
They thought I was a drug dealer the entire time.
Shut up.
I know, right? I know, but they literally the entire time thought I was a drug dealer. Like they told me that I was a drug dealer. But I told them I'm just a drug user. I'm not a dealer. No, I'm joking. No, but
can't say that either.
Definitely don't play games in Bangkok.
No.
Which you'd think because of the name Bangkok, you'd probably be able to play some games. But, just the name itself, but apparently you can't. But no, it's lighters. Lighters were the big issue. You're not in one airport. In one airport, you're allowed lighters in your carry-on. In another airport, you're allowed lighters in your luggage. So it was kind of like it didn't matter. There was a lose-lose situation. If I would have put it in my luggage, they pulled it out. If I put it in my carry-on, they would pull it out. So I came back with 0 lighters, and I even bought lighters as souvenirs because there were some really nice lighters, and they took it away from me, no questions asked. Just like, yes, sorry, but it was cool because they never found the drug, so that's already a positive, right? So
right. That's probably you had it somewhere
back.
where they didn't look. That's it.
No, none of that. But
You're looking at the Philippines, or the Thai authorities are looking back at their thoughts on you, and they're like, next time he comes back into here, we're gonna get him now.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's but anyways, it was just an incredible experience, and I loved every bit of it, and that's that. So you really want to know, you can ask me more questions later, but I want to kind of get into the show, into the mood of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But before I start it off, I'd like to start with maybe a sobbing part. Can I get into that? Especially since we have those people watching. Unfortunately, on my birthday, I found out that an acquaintance of mine was diagnosed with leukemia. And we wanted to have Veronica, his ex-wife, who wanted to come out today to talk about him, to raise awareness. Part of the reason that we do the show is, to highlight the community and to help out as much as we can. So it's not just all jokes and, political conversations and whatnot. It's about people. There's going to be a link that's going to be put on our page, how to be able to help. So if you can help financially or any way, volunteer. I don't know really what is it that they're in need of, and I don't want to be the representative because I'm not the person that's that close to
them
him.
and find out what they actually need.
Right, so you'll be able to see it on my wall. His name is Erz Domb, and he doesn't go by that name.
EREZDOMB is where they can find him?
That is his name. That's really what we're advertising, but I think it's something different online. But don't worry, next week we're going to have Veronica come back. Unfortunately, she got sick, so she messaged me, and she messaged and said, I can't even talk. That's how sick I am, so please don't be upset.
Yeah, that's what happened with me.
And I said, of course, but the entire goal is really to talk a little bit about it. I've met him only a few times, and he's been a wonderful human being. But it didn't matter even if he wasn't that amazing person. He's a part of our community, and if we can do something to help, or if you can do anything to help, please do. As I said, the link will be on my wall, and there's going to be another link that's going to show up very, very shortly. Today we're shorthanded. Our producer is currently in Florida.
We miss you, Anthony.
So Anthony,
we love
we're
you.
saying hello. Hopefully
You're
you are watching.
Not fucking watching.
There's no way he's watching.
No,
he's got better things to do.
You better not be. Do what I would do.
So if you go away, you don't watch the show, right? Yeah, you actually mentioned it, that you don't watch the show. Why didn't you watch the show?
Excuse me, I did watch the show. Did I not mention that we were watching it?
No. But did you watch the full show? Did you?
Well, we tried to, but I couldn't use my data. I love you,
gotcha,
but come on, I didn't have Wi-Fi.
That's true. I wouldn't spend data on you either. Yeah, so I think it's only fair.
This isn't a podcast that I can download when I'm at home, and it was live, so it's like I can't do much.
Yeah, this is higher quality, green screen and all. It's not just people yapping.
Fancy, huh?
Yeah, I pay a lot of money for this. Anyways, welcome again to the show. It's been some time.
National Chocolate Covered Raisin Day. That's what it is.
Is it? Yeah. I love chocolate covered. Do you like chocolate covered raisins?
Actually, I do.
Yeah, I love it. But here's my question:
where are the chocolate covered raisins?
Yes. So a part of the duties.
He said duty.
I did say duty. Is for you to not just present it, but to bring something.
I did bring something.
You did. You brought us tuna sandwiches.
Okay, don't show people because it fell on.
You brought us. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty happy with tuna sandwiches, but
I had high tea earlier this afternoon. And by high tea means the English style tea with the tea sandwiches. So I have cucumber sandwiches, egg salad sandwiches. I have tuna fish on brown bread or dark bread. It's dark rye bread or wheat bread. And I just ate one of the avocado crisps, which is chicken avocado salad. Now,
are you in a cooking show? This is about raisins and chocolate, and you're talking about your tuna sandwiches.
I didn't have time because I was doing something on my Sunday.
There's never time. Yesterday. We need to keep her accountable for all this stuff.
Yeah.
So whatever national next week, you do not bring. I mean, you can bring tuna sandwiches.
If it's National Elephant Day, I can't really bring you an elephant.
I actually brought you an elephant. And it's in the car. Yes.
Shut the front.
My word.
Me a present?
A word. I brought you an elephant. Yep. I did. Nice. You're very welcome. All right. So So talk to me a little bit about the raisins since you brought it up. When was the first time you had?
Oh my God, chocolate covered raisins. I can tell you for sure. The first time I had them was on a Halloween score. For sure. Because actually, no, I lie. I totally lie.
Liar.
National chocolate raisin. First time I had them was probably during Passover or Purim, at home with my parents.
Is that kosher?
Raisins and chocolate. If
I don't know, but
kosher chocolate.
You get kosher chocolate. I guess I don't know, but is it kosher for Passover?
Yeah.
No, probably not.
Why not? There's chocolate that's
you
kosher
have
for
to
Passover.
That's the thing. You have to have kosher for Passover.
Yeah, so
kosher
there's,
Passover.
I'm sure there's chocolate covered
gotta
raisins
be.
that's kosher for Passover. There's chocolate covered everything that's kosher for Passover.
No.
There's raisins.
Okay,
Yes,
wait.
there is.
Nutella, up until not long ago, was not kosher for Passover.
Yeah, but I don't eat Nutella. And
Wait.
They have
Wait,
they
oh,
have
because you don't
kosher
eat
for
Nutella.
Passover hazelnut spread of their own.
No, but
not
like
Nutella.
Yeah, but like Nutella did not have a
But
kosher for
it doesn't
Passover.
matter.
Sounds like
I
something to
have.
check
There's
out.
an actual brand that's like an Israeli brand. That's,
Shachal?
Sure.
But that's part of it. That's not actual milk.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, it tastes amazing, but it's not a
Okay,
milk
but
product.
there's chocolate covered raisins because there's kosher for Passover.
I was just
chocolate.
trying to like tease you about the kosher part. Who
Well,
cares?
of all the people that tease me about the kosher part,
That's true.
but I know for a fact there's chocolate covered raisins that are kosher for Passover.
I'd like to see them. All right, Passover, by the way, is coming up soon.
Yeah,
so
next month.
here's your opportunity
Yeah.
to bring us those
So
kosher
it's
covered,
next month,
kosher
at
covered
the end of next month.
chocolate raisins, kosher covered. All right, what else? What else do we have on the agenda before we get into a conversation with Rivka?
There's also National Cheesesteak Day.
Cheesesteak.
Do you know what a cheesesteak is?
Do I know what a cheesesteak is?
Yeah.
The one who basically
Yeah.
asked for a soda,
Yeah.
right? Instead of saying pop,
Yeah.
you're asking me. Do you want me to tell you where to go? All right.
Here, yeah, go for it.
No, here, no. It's in
Yeah,
Philly.
Philly.
In Philly, well, there's a
Well,
place
don't
called
offer
Pat's.
if you-
There's
We're not in
Pat's.
Philly here, buddy.
Well, it is a Philly cheesesteak. That's
Yeah.
really what it,
Well,
where it
it's
comes
Pat's or it's what is it?
I forget the other ones.
Roots.
No. It's two guys. It's another name.
Steakhouse.
But and I've had both. But my favorite one was in Jersey. My favorite that I've ever had was in Passaic, New Jersey, and it was just incredible. However, the guy was from Philly, so maybe there is something right. Maybe.
Shipped it in.
And I asked him why is this popular here? So his son apparently was really sick, and there was a hospital that could help him only in Jersey. So he moved to Jersey, and he still decided to bring a little bit of his flavor. But it was just weird to have the best Philly cheesesteak sandwich in Jersey. I don't know. I thought that was kind of strange, but it was
I
delicious.
would love a Philly cheesesteak sandwich right now.
Can I say something bad about Philly cheesesteak? Like that I'm a little bit. I get upset
They're
over
not
this thing.
kosher.
No. I don't mind. I get really upset about this. So when you go to Subway and you buy their Philly cheesesteak sandwich, they give you one piece of cheese.
Okay.
You get cheese for free on any sandwich that you want. So you're expecting the Philly cheesesteak sandwich to have more than the regular cheese you're already getting on every other freaking
Well,
sandwich.
depending on, they usually for a 6-inch they'll give you 2 slices, and for a 12-inch they give you 4.
Right, but they'll give you the 4 whether you want a tuna, whether you want you can have salami, you still get your 4.
I normally ask for because they have shredded cheese there as well, right?
Correct, yes.
So you ask for the shredded cheese
Mhm.
and just be like, can I get a little bit extra shredded cheese?
Mhm.
And then you toast it, and it's usually pretty damn freaking good.
I get what you're saying, but you get what I'm saying.
I'm totally agreeing
All
with
right,
you.
cool. Because
Yeah,
I'm a
they
little
should
bit.
have-
They should have
because of
extra cheese
extra
because this
cheese,
already
it's
comes in with the
You
meal.
shouldn't have to ask for the extra cheese.
And you have to pay like $3 for the cheese. Yeah, it's
Well,
something ridiculous.
if you
like
go
that,
to
yeah.
the same Subway and the girl likes you, you don't have to.
I don't know. Apparently, I'm not that popular among Filipino women, so it's they all work there. They never do me any favors. There's never. They're
Do
always
you
like,
go to the same one every time?
no, but I go to the same 15 every time. So
Okay,
they kind of
well, then
they should know me at all the different locations.
If you make it a habit at one, you should be okay.
I somehow have this like psychological thing that I feel whenever I have Subway, like I'm eating healthy. Don't ask me because I know that I can have McDonald's and Burger King and whatever else. So somehow I'm like. I take out the bread from the inside always, so that's already and it's amazing because I have more vegetables.
The meat has a place to sit in.
Well, it's not just the meat, but like the
And the
vegetables.
cheese and-
So it becomes much smaller, so it's not like one of those huge sandwiches. They take out the
you
bread.
scoop it.
They scoop out the bread.
Oh,
they scoop
okay,
out from
okay,
both
okay,
sides.
okay.
They put it in. So I feel like it's a little bit
okay,
healthier.
a little
But
bit healthier.
well, because I'm still eating bread, so I
70
shouldn't be eating bread.
calories.
Stop. The bread is awful. Like it's
I
just
stopped
It's
yeah.
delicious.
It is. But soon I'm Dr. Brown. I'm coming for you, buddy. And no more of that bread stuff. Except the
I
sandwiches
really
that are
need a
here.
tan. I'm looking at it. I'm starting to blend into the friggin' cloth that we have here.
Yeah.
Plus you're sitting.
I got a lot more color than I thought.
And the next thing, we just came back from
exactly.
Thailand.
Yeah.
The beaches. I have like a reverse snow tan. Like friggin' winter is coming. Like,
It's true. It's true.
Pretty
You should be on the show.
like I'm not happy with this.
What else do we got?
Can we cut this in print and make me like a little more tan, like my natural skin tone?
I can
skin
Photoshop.
tone?
I can Photoshop something.
Like, cause I'm darker than you naturally.
Yes,
When it's
you
not
are from
winter.
Uzbekistan, so it kind of makes sense.
I'm from Azerbaijan.
Oh, Azerbaijan, that's right.
That's
Sorry, it's the...
right. Uzbekistan's on the other side.
That's true. I do know the difference between the two. But you're from the Caucasus Mountains, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into other stereotypes when it comes to the Caucasian people. It's funny though, you're Caucasian yet you're not white.
Really?
Isn't that kind of
Okay.
weird? Like there's something's off about it. Have you guys ever had this, like old Filipinos, like they can't say the letter F,
Yeah.
right? It's P. How does the people? I just don't understand. How does the people
How
are
do they
named
say
something, but they can't
how
even
do
say
they
it?
say Philippines.
Philippines.
Philippine.
They say they're
Or Filipinos.
yeah, they can't say F. I mean, not they. Many people who live in they just for some reason they say Filipino, right? They just can't say.
Well, the ones that they're
Well, meaning like you're from the
learning
Philippines,
English and
so
they're
you should
not,
be able to
like,
say the
really
letter F.
young and they have.
It's like
Okay.
Asians, they can't say, like other Asians can't say R, right? I'm always long. I'm never wrong. It's long, right? And Mexicans call me Juan. So it's like it's Juan Fernandez. That's my Spanish name.
Say it again.
Juan Fernandez. Yeah, I just added the Mendez at the end.
Okay.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Menendez brother?
Let's not go that far. There's other Menendez out there that are pretty successful and didn't kill their parents. You remember that story? You were not even living in this country when it happened. I know where you saw it. You probably saw it in the movie, the
that
Jim
series.
Carrey. The Jim Carrey movie.
No, but there's
the cable
TV
guy.
series recently about the Menendez.
Did they?
brothers.
Okay, that's how you know
Well,
about
no,
it.
I know because I know my pop culture.
Oh, gotcha.
And,
So
I also remember the
It was
Tony
on some sort of
Harding
trivia.
and the O.J. Simpson trial. I was around for that. I moved here in '88.
Well, right, 80. No, you didn't move here in '88.
Yes, I did.
You moved here in '88.
Yes.
You moved here after us, though. We moved here in '89.
Yeah. I
Okay,
moved
well,
here in
we'll figure that out.
88,
Okay.
and we stayed for a year. We went back.
You went back, so you weren't really.
We went back for like 5 months, and then we moved here permanently October '89.
Interesting. I do not remember that, but I'll believe you because it's your story and not mine.
I don't remember this because I even have pictures and stuff like that.
Let's get into it. Let's leave all the other stuff for later. Let's kind of bring Rivka in
All
if
right.
that's possible. Rivka, welcome to the
Possible.
show.
She's been in.
I've been
Yeah, but in.
I've been engrossed.
You're a filmmaker. You're an activist. You find it weird that I call you an
Yes, I do.
activist.
Yeah.
But you are an
I
activist.
guess.
You're one of my students, and it's not the reason I have you here. I found you very intriguing, and I walked into your house, if I may share a little bit, and
Sure,
I
go
just
ahead.
noticed like all these amazing Jewish stuff around,
Mhm.
and my first thought was like, wow, like a black person wanting to learn about Judaism, and that's awesome, and she's hiring me as her Hebrew teacher. Yes, this is great. And then like I kind of asked you about conversion at one point. You go,
Right.
I'm Jewish. And I'm like, no, I understand. You're like, no, I'm born a Jew. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it's just something that I kind of expect. It's, like usually, the way, usually will be like an Ethiopian person or somebody who is half. Like it's very rare to meet, and you said you're Jamaican too.
Yeah, Jamaican Jewish.
Jamaican Jewish.
What?
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's getting better for you. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm in this conversation. I've got something to offer. Bling, bling. Right? It's like for a second there, right?
That's a stereotype, and how dare you?
I went bling. I dare. I literally just said that I thought something else. But no, like you're very much into the culture. Like you want to learn. You advocate. Like I saw a little clip of you going around town talking about diversity,
Right.
different synagogues, and like showing Jewish Toronto and the type of Jewish Toronto that I don't think other people know about. And I just found it very, very intriguing that you took the time to really, get to know yourself, like get to know your community and bring other people into it
Right.
because you are a person of color and we have, Azerbaijani people, but they kind of look like us. And then, when you see like we had Serena Lee come on the show before and she converted to Judaism and people thought that she's the maid or, the housekeeper or whatever. What do they call them? Nanny. Right? So there's almost the stereotypes about when we see people of color who are Jewish, even though there's no such thing as color when it comes to Judaism. Everybody is welcome. And there isn't. However,
you were born here, right?
I was born here.
there's a part of racism though that very much exists within our community when it comes to that. And we're aware of it. People have a problem, maybe me saying it, but it's true. It happens a lot, not because we hate. It's not. I don't think it comes from hate. It comes from different. And when something is different, we tend to push it away and say, I don't know. I don't know if I'm really interested in really changing, conforming. But it's a part of who we are, and I think that's what King Solomon really taught us.
Right.
All right, maybe he was just a horny guy with a lot of wives, and he just said, "Oh, I'm doing it for peace." but in reality, like he did teach us that, like that, there are Jews of every color, and we have to accept. And I very much accept, but I have to be honest that it is very different for me too. I want you to talk a little about your experience, maybe just as a filmmaker, what you're exploring, but like what is your life all about? Growing up.
And I'll tag off of a couple of things you said. You said that sometimes we push away different. And it's funny because as Jewish people, more times than not, we're different.
Right.
So it's kind of, I don't know if the word is ironic, but it's ironic that we push away different.
100%.
So we should know better, for starters.
100%.
And even the conversation that we initially had, like, so, you have all this stuff and da-da-da,
Right.
and it didn't faze me because it's so familiar to me.
Right, absolutely.
And I think the thing that people need to understand is, while it's familiar to me, it always kind of sends a message that we don't think you really belong, but you're here, so we got to figure out how you got here. Right. The assumption isn't that you're here because you were born into Judaism or whatever. It's like, you're not naturally part of the tribe. So how did you enter the tribe?
Absolutely.
And that's the question that a lot of people, whether they articulate it or not, it's in the back of their head.
Right, absolutely.
But how could they say you're not naturally? You never fucking know.
Well, yeah,
people they literally got lost in the desert and they ended up somewhere, and some of them are lighter skin tone, some of them are darker skin tone.
And in the desert, they probably fry up too.
Yeah.
Chris,
Come on, it's the
Don't
freaking
do
desert.
it,
Come on,
it's
it's the freaking desert.
But
like, if you say
yeah.
that a person from the desert is literally like all white, unless they're living in like the mountains where my people saw mountains.
Yeah,
they're like, that's either an optical illusion
yeah.
or where we need to be for some fucking shade. We're dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, and
Well,
get
Shade in the
tired.
mountains?
we pride ourselves on being crazy
Well, there's
smart
something
people,
here,
right?
Something instead of the outer, like in the desert,
Okay.
looking outside completely.
Like, we pride ourselves on being like really well read, the people of the book.
Right, that's what we're called.
Good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it never ceases to amaze me that we are the people of the book, yet the most logical thing seems to escape us. And you just talked about, living in the mountains and living here. We're a freaking scattered people.
Right,
So
right.
why should it be odd that we are scattered to the four corners of the world?
It's
So
odd
why
to
should
me
it
that
be
people
odd?
don't
I don't
see
think it's
that.
about- I don't
They're-
think it's
they're
about
willing
odd.
to accept one thing.
No,
but
I'm
they're
saying,
not
why
willing-
do they think it's
but that's-
bizarre?
so
that,
because
oh my
today-
God, you're a black Jew?
But that's the thing. Today,
Mhm.
most like Jewish people are European Jews. Like if they make,
But are they?
yeah. What do you mean?
I challenge that.
What?
I challenge that. I challenge
What
that. in
are
the
they
sense
actually
that,
Jewish? Is
No,
that,
no,
oh,
God, no.
Okay.
I challenge the use of the term most.
Okay.
It's what we know. It's what we're used to seeing. So we're used to seeing a certain culture, whether
Right,
it's
right.
on TV. We're used to seeing Woody Allen. We're used to seeing Jerry Seinfeld. We're used
Right.
to seeing Eastern European Jews.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
Mhm.
So in our mind, we then assume that must be the dominant culture.
Mhm.
That must be the dominant
'Cause that's what you see in the
because that's what you
forefront.
see all the time.
Yeah.
But having said that,
Mhm.
if you add up Jews, let's call them Jews, like conversos, whatever.
They
so
are,
if you
though.
say they are exactly. So if you say, let's add up the Jews in South America, let's add up the Jews in India, let's add up the Jews in China, let's add up the Jews in Iran, let's add up the Jews in Iraq,
They're
let's add
Jews.
up the Jews in
We
Africa.
shouldn't. They're
All this,
just
and the
Jews.
Caribbean.
Well-
all of a sudden, that number will shift.
Well,
But
we
just
know,
don't know their story.
but we
It
know,
just
we know
seems
the,
they're not in
but we know the
forefront.
numbers. We know the numbers.
We don't.
Well,
we don't. There's not
we
a lot of
don't know
people
the
that
numbers.
accept
no.
to say
I don't want to.
they're
I don't
Jewish.
want to because clearly I'm
Yeah.
here talking about it.
Yeah.
We do know the numbers. We know the
Do
numbers.
we?
Yeah, we know the numbers.
How?
Because there's 13.
Wow, both of us.
Because
We
there's
know
thir-
the numbers of the Jewish population,
no.
but they're not all counted.
Oh no,
Yeah.
they're counted.
Okay, I'll give you an
So there's
example.
13 point. I'll tell you. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of did a little bit of research on this. So there's 13.4 million people. 13.4 million Jews living in the world, not including certain converts that we don't really know. But we're talking about like Jews on paper, 13.4 million people, and about 65% of them happen to be white. Yes, there's others. Even if you take all the numbers, because really what you're doing, you're taking 20,000. 50,000, 10,000, and yet we're talking about just Russia alone, 1.5 million.
Yeah, but those are the Jews that got asked. Those are the Jews that those are the Jews who
right.
counted because those are the Jews who got up and said, yes, I'm
right,
Jewish.
but
Take the Canadian Jewish survey that just came out. I didn't get a call. There are no racial...
I didn't get a call.
There's no racial or ethnic data. So they don't know.
They don't know.
It still doesn't say how many Jews of color.
I know what you're saying.
So we still
but you're talking about small. You're talking
numbers.
about small margins. You're not talking about something huge.
But here's the thing.
Right.
You know how they base their data, how they found people?
How?
Based on their last name.
Mm.
So are they going to find a Campbell?
They're not going to find a Campbell. That's for sure.
They're not going to find a Campbell.
They're not
going to find a Lee.
But a Campbell will probably find them.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
If you're going to count Jews, the onus is on you to find them and get them counted.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And I'm going to say that we're not counting the Jews in Africa. We're not counting the amount because nobody's asking. And because of the way, historically, because of the way Jews of color have felt marginalized, there are a lot of Jews of color who you won't find in the synagogue and who may not say, yeah, I'm Jewish.
Right.
Because then things happen.
Right.
And they're not necessarily positive things.
And I agree with you.
And having said that, I wish we had true numbers. I wish people had picked up the phone and said, hi, I'm looking for Rivka Campbell. I have a couple of questions for you. Are you Jewish?
Right.
So that my ethnicity could be counted in the survey.
Right.
Yeah.
So that,
But is it really? Is that really the issue? Because I'm thinking it's much. I'm thinking it's like so much bigger.
Of it,
because visibly, the Jews, we know they blend into whatever culture they're in. So meaning like. If the Ethiopian Jew lives in Ethiopia, he still looks like an Ethiopian. Right? You have like a Russian Jew who somewhat looks like a Russian person, right? So, but the whites are clearly dominant, but it's something that we're used to. But I think a lot of it has to do with, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think it has to do a lot with Russian culture. And I'm going to put something out there, but it's really true. So Russian culture is very much about white people. Like it's very white dominant. And anything but white. I remember there was a movie in Israel called Casablanca, and it was about racism within Israel between the Sephardic community and the Ashkenazi community. And it was very, it was very affluent. These things were happening.
Sephardics are usually the darker ones.
Yeah. So and it was because it's kind of like so it's your Israeli version of what's that? The Sharks and the.
Oh, the Sharks! Is it Sharks and the Jets?
The Jets, yes. What is it called?
West Side Story.
West Side Story. There you go. I was about to say West Bank Story, but it was very similar. So there was meaning there is that. But today, this movie I think was done in the late '60s, maybe early '70s, if I'm not sure. And today it's changed. Back in the day, Russians stuck to Russians, even Romanians stuck to Romanians, and today, people like my brother married an Indian woman, and then he married a Romanian French Canadian. It just meaning we started to mix. So it's clearly moving in that direction. Where we're becoming like not a melting pot because we're still Jews, but meaning it's no longer going to be white versus black.
Growing up a bit.
For me, like what I dated was primarily out of my own. Like I saw what I saw, and I wanted to date everything else.
Right.
So that's why.
So you went against.
For sure.
Okay, but that's you.
That's why I ended up with a Dutch man.
That's why.
I ended up I went through the rainbow, and I ended up there.
Okay, Dutch. You picked Dutch as your final.
Well, I had right before Dutch, I had a Jewish man.
Okay.
So it was either one or the other, and I talked to my dad, and I said, which one do you like for me better? And even my dad picked the Dutch one. So.
Listen, at the end of the day, I think it should be about the person. I mean, my sister is married to a non-Jew, and he's wonderful, and he treats her well. I'm personally for Jews marrying Jews. You can disagree with me, you can fight with me. It's fine. It's my own personal opinion.
Right.
I feel like there's certain cultures that do need to stick together. But it's got nothing to do with religion.
I don't think necessarily stick together as long as the culture is still celebrated with whomever you are with. You can celebrate your culture. You can celebrate their culture. You can amalgamate.
But then it disappears, and there's there are numbers to back that up. I mean, people who are actually doing research, it's huge that those that are actually in intermarriages end up leaving, and the numbers are diminishing. Now, no one's here to talk about whether we're pro or against or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
We're here really to talk about, diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend, Amanda Jackson, who like her mother is Jewish and her father is black. I don't know if he's. I think she's Jamaican. I think he's Jamaican, but I just don't want to say something out of line. Maybe he's not, but I believe she used to go to Jamaica quite a bit to see her family.
Okay.
And I just always felt, in some ways, bad for her. I have to be honest. I love this girl because I always felt like there were people who didn't really give her the opportunity she deserved, based on her color.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that, and it's not just the people themselves. It's not like our generation. It's our parents' generation, where like anything but a certain type, anything but this, and it happens. And it's now you're talking to a person who we talked before. My favorite two things is black and yellow. It's like this is what I like, and I felt weird about talking about it. I felt weird about saying that. Oh my God, I'm really attracted to black people, and like it's something I really really love. And I felt like I had to be almost in the closet to not really talk about it because that wasn't the norm. And there's still people today who kind of look down. We're getting better. I mean, I think we're advancing.
When you said the older generation, I'll give an example of a friend of mine, and she is. I believe she's in her 30s, so not the older generation per se, and she is the white mother of 2 biracial Jewish children. And she was having a conversation with, their kids weren't around, and she was having a conversation with a few white Jewish women. And the conversation came up about who would you want your children to date?
Right.
And the consensus was, I would rather they brought home anything, a non-Jew, than bring home a black. I don't even care if the black person's a Jew. Okay, flat out.
Yeah, no,
So then she she opened up her wallet and she pulled out a picture and she said, this is my, like her pictures of her kids. She said, these are my children.
Yeah.
And she said, quite frankly, I'm glad to hear that because she said, I wouldn't want them anywhere near your children.
Right.
Yeah. But it's
painful.
Still there. It's still there because as long as we are people,
100%,
and we're still going to have it. And I find sometimes we're, as Jews, we're so hypocritical because, like I just said before,
we're the
pride
last
ourselves.
ones who should be
Exactly. And we can tend to be very proactive about, social justice and this and that. And I always say to them, your social justice is only as good as what you do in your own house.
100%.
If your house isn't clean, then you need to clean that first.
Right.
And don't kid yourself that the world doesn't see it. You can talk about how we have to support, just to say some random thing, whether you support it or not, but let's say Black Lives Matter, because there was that push for a while.
Right.
And in social justice, Jews were like, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But black people see how you treat black Jews. So they're like, but you treat your own like this.
Right.
So how are you going to say it matters
now,
when you treat your
so
own family
I'm not going to defend any of this. I'm not going to defend.
It's just a thing.
No, but I won't defend this point.
Yeah.
It's because clearly among us there are many.
Yeah.
But I will say that it's not something that is like there's certain people that like hate black people. I've never heard in my life, I don't like black people. It was more.
And I have.
Right, but again, I haven't, and I'm telling you from.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Clearly, you're the one that's living, in the skin color, and you can see
Yeah.
everything around you. But what I did find that they're different than us. We don't want to mix, and what do people usually say? Well, I want the kid to look more like me, and black is a dominant color, and that's usually where. Again, that's usually.
Do you want to hear my theory? I believe.
Wait, we didn't say yes.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, she was drinking. Go.
So my theory is, black people and Jews, even though they're one and the same.
They are the same.
Actually, and that's what I said, even though they're one and the same, actually are the ones that are here to bring, like, if we need to mix, that's what's going to bring, like, peace and joy into the world.
That's your theory?
I think so.
Just
no,
that?
not, like, I've thought about this a long time because I don't know when it came to me, but it was a long time ago, and it dawned on me. I'm like, we're basically the most persecuted people, like, in history. and you put them together, and I'm like, what would happen if those two, the most persecuted people who have been through everything, through hell and back, and become phoenixes and risen through the ashes, like nothing that,
Right.
you know what I mean. So to come out on top of so many things, and people would push them down and say, you can't do it, you can't do it. What if those people came together? What would happen? And I think I think something magical and beautiful would
So you're
happen.
saying there's like a natural power base,
Yeah.
natural allies.
Yeah.
Should be natural.
Well,
I
we're going to
think
be
that's
hated
just
even
me.
more, like let's just say. But no, I don't believe in going and like this is a great story, but like for me it's more like we should just be with everybody, like meaning we should bring everybody into it. Whoever wants to be a Jew, they can be a Jew. Whoever doesn't want to be a Jew, get out. You don't have to be. If you want to participate, we shouldn't have these barriers.
Yeah.
I think they exist again because of I would say this European culture. But it's not just that. When I was right now in Thailand, like just one of the stories I could tell was there's a lot of people who are from the Thai people who are trying to be white, and the whiter you are, the more successful you seem to be, and people literally bleaching themselves, wearing specific creams to look lighter. And if you're darker, then you're looked at as like, okay, you got to do the dirty job.
Yeah.
So it's got nothing to do with the black, as blacks, because it wasn't blacks. So right now in Thailand, those that have been there can correct me if I'm wrong. It's just the information I have. They have a lot of workers from Burma, and the Burmese, I don't know what they're called. They're first of all amazing people, really sweet. They're darker, but where do they work? They do all the work that the other Thai people don't want to do, and they're sometimes treated like less than, and it's kind of weird because we're people at the end of the day. What does the color have anything to do with anything? But it is, and it's colorism, but that's the thing. Like it's within us. Yeah. So I don't think it's necessarily like I remember when my uncle brother wanted to marry his Indian wife. My parents were a little bit against it, and I don't want to say against it because she's Jewish, Israeli, but they were like, "Well, what is your kid gonna look like? It's like it's gonna be really dark," and like. He didn't care.
Permatan, bitch.
No, but that's the thing. So then he married a Romanian French Canadian, a Moroccan French Canadian, whatever. But the kid is blonde, blue eyes, the second one.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but I feel like there's something about the family that they connect more to the blonde, blue eyes
because that's their choice.
But there's something. It's awful. Like I call him out on it. Like we don't know why, but there's just something there's more connection now. They're both my nephews, and I love them very much. I don't see the difference between them. They're my nephews.
We have to change that. We have to change that. That's all about socialization.
Right.
We've been socialized to believe is good. But we've been socialized, even as simple as white hat, black hat. It's what we've been socialized to think is better. And we have to start changing that.
How? So that's the real question.
We have to start changing it, with future generations. We have to stop and check ourselves. And people need to be called out on, because whether or not we realize that if you have, and I can't speak for your family, but if one child is favored over the other, what are you saying about, you're doing a disservice actually to both kids, right? Because it's not based on who they are, it's based on how they look.
Who you like better,
right?
What are you saying to
based
them?
on how
What's
they
the
look.
underlining in that, right?
Yeah. So
that's
it's a
that's
tough thing.
itself is like another question, and how it's perceived to the child that you're favoring, and they're just like, well, why are they favoring me over this other child?
And they will
it's just like,
perpetrate it.
Yeah, and
over
not
and
knowingly
over
because
again.
that's what they learn, and they're like, oh, it must be okay because so and so is doing it, and that's how I've seen it, and that's how I grew up, and so it must be normal, and so I can see that vicious cycle continuing, right? But what we need to do as adults is be self-aware, and that's what we are like choosing to ignore. Is we are not being self-aware. We are being ignorant to our own thoughts and our own feelings and our own actions. Right. And that is truly, truly one of the greatest faults in our generation.
And I think we are aware. And I think we still make these mistakes. I think we are. See, like one of the comments that we just got was, one of the comments we just got was that, the black people, the Jews and the black people got together in in the 60s and they marched together.
Wow.
Yeah. Great, amazing, clearly. But that's not the conversation.
That's not the conversation.
It's not the conversation at all.
Also, so many freaking years ago,
Yeah.
and we got to stop holding on to
60
that.
years ago.
And
No,
you know,
but we have,
seriously,
but we have to be honest.
seriously,
Even
though.
like the Ethiopians that we brought
Seriously.
Felicia, like
We got to stop holding on to
Yeah.
marching in the 60s
Mhm.
because
That's the
quorum just
60s.
passed
Mhm.
last week,
Yep.
and there are still people in the United States and probably in Canada that I just haven't heard about who are still doing blackface and dressing up as black people with afros and painting their faces black. So please stop holding on to one moment in time when we did something right.
Right.
And realize that we need to do more right things now.
So let's elaborate, because the idea behind this is not just to bring
It's
the
like
topic.
virtue signaling for whatever people deem pleasing, right?
But what is it? What is that we can do? So you're a documentarian, and this is why you're also on the show, because I felt that to bring you on and just to talk about your own life, wonderful, great, but you're actually doing something about it, right? Like you tell us a little bit about your
What we did?
documentary where you
Sure.
went out and
Okay.
and did something to
Yeah.
bring it to light.
Yeah. Okay, so it started off just as a simple little idea because I really got kind of frustrated and tired of people always saying, if they saw the Star of David, people always saying, "Oh, you're Jewish, are you? What's your story?
Right.
What's
right.
your story?
Right.
What's your story?" And it's like, oh my God, enough with the "what's your story?" And so I decided, though, instead of getting angry and keep saying, I'm tired of people saying, "What's your story?" I thought, maybe people actually do need to hear the story.
Mhm.
And the difference being is they're going to hear the story when I want to tell the story.
Right.
And
Not-
how you
and
want it.
how I want to tell the
Yes.
story. Exactly. So what I'm doing, and it's always a work in progress, with filmmaking. So essentially, I am having Jews, I'm going to show the diversity of the Jewish people. So whether it is a Jew from India, whether it's a Jamaican Jew, whether it's a Jew from Kafkazi, whatever.
And get the different foods from where they're.
That we're actually considering that. I don't want to
Please.
bust out too
Don't
much of it.
like just
but
do
food,
it.
because we're Jews,
of
food
all
has
the
to
different
serve
regions
a place in
and
this,
what
right?
they eat there for
I'm not kidding.
Passover and like
Absolutely.
Purim. And
Speaking of food, I'm going to have this
Yeah.
avocado.
No, food
Yes.
has to be in there. So now I'm going to have people tell their story. So
How
it's
is
going to
it?
be different. I'm going to do it in different methods and so on. Like, I don't want to give out too much, but that's in essence what I'm doing is I'm telling the story of us as Jewish people. And along with doing that, I've been doing a lot of presentations to university students. During Black History Week, I spoke with Andrea Spindell. We spoke at Bialik. So get them when they're young.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
That's great.
And because, as I said to the kids in particular, I said, it's our story. My story, the story of Jews in Jamaica, the story of Jews in India. It's the Jewish story.
Absolutely.
And we need to have a full, they have a class on Jewish identity, and they talk a little bit about Sephardi and this and that. But I said, you need to know all of our story because this is your family. And I said another thing that they need to realize, and what I'm hoping is, people will say to me sometimes, "What do you want as a Jew of color? You want some special treatment? Do you want us to, say, oh, la la, you're a Jew of color, oh." And I said, no. What I want you to recognize is that I'm
equal to you.
Exactly. I want it to get to the point where if I walk in the synagogue, you're not saying to me, What's your story? You're saying to me, Shabbat Shalom.
Right, absolutely.
That's it. I said, I want to get to the point where you treat me the same way you expect to be treated, and the same way you treat somebody who doesn't necessarily look like you.
I'm not gonna cut you off because what you're saying, you're saying is amazing. But I'll say just something else. So right now, when I went to Thailand, it kind of relates to this. There are a lot of Russians now that visit Thailand where they didn't before, and my parents are from the former USSR, and I kind of listen to Russian at home, so I'm fluent in Russian. And when I started to talk to them, like, they noticed that I wasn't Russian. They noticed that, like, I didn't grow up Russian. So they were, "What's your story?" And they just, everywhere I went.
Yeah, of course.
And it had nothing to do with color. It had nothing to do with anything. It was just, I was intriguing to them because why would some Jewish kid, like, speak this language of, they don't even feel that the Jewish Russians are Russian, like, in their mind. So for them, it's like, why would you continue telling, like, why would you speak German if you're from, World War II? Like, get rid of that language. So I felt that they were more curious. And I think this curiosity is great because in some ways they feel like they felt more connected. They were able to share. They were able to learn something new. You now have the ability to teach people about diversity. So, and at some point, yes, it's going to level out. So it's a good starting point because I don't feel we should, I don't like to always tell the story of that my dad's from Ukraine, my mom's from Moldova, they met and so. I don't want to do that, but hopefully eventually there is going to be less of a gap. And I think the Ethiopian community, that I kind of wanted to tell you before, where Israel came and brought so many Ethiopians to Israel, is making some changes. But at the same time, racism still exists in Israel. I mean, especially with the blacks. I mean, say whatever you want. I mean, you know where I stand, and I know that it exists. And
but you can't deny that.
No,
and it would be a disservice to deny that.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's
100%.
like, because we're always afraid of that unknown, and the stories like it's like, well, they're not like us. Like they eat with their hands, they sit on the floor, they're used to other things, they're not cultured. Like there's all these different things. But it's like, well, they grew up with us. I mean, and they've been living with us, and they're like Israeli, or you know what I'm saying? Like they're.
Yeah.
What do you mean they're different? Maybe their other generation was.
You know what? It's okay to be apprehensive about the unknown.
Yeah.
Just like I say to people, one line I absolutely hate is when people say, "I don't see color."
Right.
I get such BS. And I said, you can see color. You can be apprehensive about the unknown. It's what you do with it.
Right.
It's how you handle it.
Right.
And if the way you handle it is by treating me like shit,
right,
by not letting me into your house, by calling me cushy, and all that stuff, that's not cool.
Of course not.
Like,
I don't know anyone that would have to condone this. So.
I don't know that word.
Cushy.
It's the N word.
But it's not really the N word.
Don't start me on that. It's the context.
Right.
Words change over time. So, yes, I love it when people, and I'm saying that sarcastically, when people say, well, it's from the land of Cush and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Okay, I know the history of the word.
Right.
Words and meanings evolve over time.
Right.
So when somebody, because this has happened to me in Israel, when somebody's yelling at me and calling me Cushi, 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 I know they're not saying, because you're from the land of Cush.
But they're also
I know exactly the context in which they're saying
But
it.
if I would say it because I'm an Israeli and I know, but they're also not saying it as the N.
Because
it's not looked at as the same way. Because we
not
don't say
that,
black.
But it's not looked at by, this is a thing. This is a thing about prejudice and racism. It is not looked at by them.
Right.
But it's not for them to decide if it's a racist word.
True.
And if I'm saying to you,
it
is the equivalent of the N-word, because I also hear the context in which you are using
Right.
it. Okay, because if you are, I was at a party, Israelis, and I'm listening to the conversation, and I hear her say, well, the Kushi got out of it, and I was like, so then I said to my equal other, I said, she used the word Kushi. I said, for God's sakes, first of all, she's been in Canada long enough to know better.
Yeah.
And I said, he said something similar, well, she doesn't I said, of course she does. Yeah. Because the whole point of this story is to emphasize it's a black guy and in a negative connotation. Okay. Because it's not like you don't need to describe somebody's race unless they're wanted or lost. You need to give a physical description. It was a negative story.
Gotcha.
And she didn't just say the guy.
Yeah.
She said Kushi.
Right.
So that in itself tells you.
That was her choice.
That was her choice of word, because she could have said.
I don't know about this specific.
But I'm saying that's how you tell. So it's not for the person to say, I think the word isn't racist. Yeah. Because somebody uses the N-word will say, I don't think the word is racist.
Right.
They'll justify the use of the N-word. They'll justify the use of the word kike. Yeah. They will justify the use of schwarze.
Yeah.
But of course they are. Of course they're going to say it's not really that. But if I'm telling you that it hurts me to the core,
and then if
don't use it.
100%.
And hundreds and millions of us are saying Kushi is bad.
Yeah.
The N-word is bad.
Yeah.
When I walk on the street in Brooklyn and somebody looked at me and said, schwarze.
Yeah.
I know it's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you it's bad. When you put on blackface, I'm telling you it's bad.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that you're
There's
emulating a basketball player that you really like. Because
no
you can wear his jersey number. We know who the hell you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. So if I'm saying to you it's bad, and if somebody, as a Jewish person, if somebody tried to justify the use of the word kike, you'd be pissed.
No question.
You'd be
No question.
pissed.
But there's again, clearly,
Yeah.
I want to put this out there. I'm not defending
Oh,
anything.
no, I know.
I'm just saying that, like, for example, like, how do
Mm-hmm.
you say black person in Russian? You know?
Черный.
No, they don't. No, you say nigger.
No.
Yes, you do.
No.
Yeah. Want to bet? Any other Russian people over there?
I'm not
Please let me
Russian.
know. But that's why, because that's what they say it. Now, they don't mean it in that way. That's the way to say it. The word black is completely new to the system to be able to describe a black person. We never called black like in Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we have more Ethiopians that came in, we're a lot more cautious and we say black as opposed to say
And you know what's
Kushi.
so interesting to me?
Please.
It's like, I kind of said this. It said, generally speaking, why do you have to even describe them as a black person? Like, generally speaking, like, I don't say,
Yeah.
oh, my friend Ron, he's this white guy.
Right, no, I agree.
I don't
Agree.
say it unless
Yeah, there's
Ron,
no
unless I
need for
can't
it.
find
However-
Ron, so I'll say my friend Ron, with the white guy with the purple shirt.
But this happens.
Yeah.
You know,
And we
again,
should learn from children because they don't do that.
Yes.
They don't
If
do
I-
that.
They
when I was-
describe what they're wearing,
Their
their
hair,
glasses,
their color,
hair,
they
yeah.
don't do
It's-
that.
Shirts they're
it-
wearing, yeah.
I think we have to be. I'm in no position to
It's
say this
interesting,
because
yeah.
I didn't experience what you experienced.
And,
so
or
I'm
if there's
very,
someone with the same name, they'll say like Lisa R to
Yeah.
Lisa J or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They won't use.
I think that we're very sensitive to a
Yeah.
lot of the words, but again, you've experienced it, so I have no
Yeah.
no place to say
Yeah.
anything. But I think that sometimes people need to know that hey, they didn't really mean to say it in that way. But if you come and correct them properly,
Mhm.
you go, hey, the way you said it was derogatory, or I felt this way. That person should then at that point apologize and change their ways.
Yes,
Something that happened to me, and I'll tell you, it's got
100%.
nothing to do with
Yeah.
black or anything.
Mhm.
I worked at a company in Los Angeles, and my girlfriend at the time bought me a shirt,
Mhm.
and I put it on, and I was in the back room where all the creative people were there,
Mhm.
and I said, "You really like the shirt on me? It makes me look gay." And I didn't mean it in any derogatory way at all. It just I meant to say like I look feminine in this shirt. Clearly, it's not. But there was nothing.
Yeah.
There was no malice
Poor
behind
choice
any.
of words, perhaps.
Perhaps, no, right. But at no point,
Yeah.
guy, how many
Yeah.
times have we used the
Yeah.
F word?
Yeah.
You know, like just
Fuck,
for
but again,
no.
all the time.
You know-
but it also kind of tells you.
You know
Don't go
what?
too much back because you're
And-
going to
and
be,
if we-
as I told you
And if
before,
we
Yeah.
can,
forward.
if we can grow and know that those words are no longer acceptable.
So I was about to say,
why are
I don't
we
u-
having a hard time with other words?
So the guy that was working there
Mhm.
is gay. By the way, this is a guy I used to hang out with regularly,
Right,
go out
right,
for
right.
drinks. Like clearly nothing. There was zero malice, and he understood it.
Mhm.
But he said to me, "What did you say?" And I said, "No, I just said that the shirt makes me look gay." He's like, "And you don't think that's offensive?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it in that way." He's like, "Well, in what way did you
Yeah.
mean it?" And all of a sudden, I was kind of
Yeah,
taken back
yeah,
by
exactly.
it, and I was like, "Well, I just kind of said something." He's like, "Well, maybe you should rethink the way you said it."
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it, I was like, and now I never used that word again because I was kind of put in place. And again, there was zero malice.
Mhm.
There was no intention behind it. It was just, I could have said, now I'll say metro. That would be the next thing. It doesn't make me look metro.
Or you can say flamboyant.
Whatever.
Or just say,
But,
I don't like
but
the way
I
it makes
feel-
you look.
but again, now we're talking about.
Why was he wasn't
okay.
saying that it was a
I don't
bad
know.
looking shirt?
I don't know. I
I
guess
just
it's
like it was making him look flamboyant.
It
it was
did.
making him look
But-
like not himself, right?
I didn't feel like this was me,
It's not my
right?
style.
Yeah.
It's not my style.
But it was those choice of words,
It's a
and,
choice
and
of
I'll
words.
give you another thing. So, like and I think I bring this up almost every other show.
Mhm.
But the way we say Jesus in Hebrew, do you know how we say Jesus in Hebrew?
Is this a Hebrew lesson?
No, but I'm just a question.
Jesus.
We're not in Hebrew class. But how do we call Jesus in Hebrew? And I want people to maybe respond to this. Actually, let's ask Yoam.
Stream?
Yoam, since you're on the show and you're very good friends with
Write it in
Rivka,
Hebrew.
so why don't you tell me what do we call Jesus in Hebrew? And you'll understand it by what I'm saying. Also, another thing when we say knock on wood. How many of us say? How many of us say knock on wood?
I say that like a bazillion.
A
Yeah, that's
bazillion? Well, you're
totally
knocking on the
Christian-
cross.
Yeah, it's a total
And even
Christian
if
thing.
you're told
Yeah,
that
yeah,
and you
yeah.
know that you don't worship it,
Yeah.
you'll still use it. And it's somewhat would offend a Jew who is practicing,
Mhm.
or to say Jesus Christ. You can't say in front of a Jew Jesus Christ. You
Yeah.
can't.
What's
Why-
the word? Yeah, he didn't.
Okay, so the word is Yoam. Do you want to write it down, or do you want me to give you the word by myself?
Oreo? No.
Okay, we're gonna give you about a minute, but we'll say there's a lot of things that we're aware of, and we know that we're kind of offending
Does it
people.
begin with an N?
No.
that's
So his real name is Yeshua. Okay, this is
Oh, you mean the actual, how you say it?
yeah, but how do you say his name? How do we say his name? We don't call him
Yehuda?
Yeshua. No. Okay, nobody's writing. All right, so I'll just tell you. So we call him Yeshu. Okay?
Oh.
We
I
say
should've
so.
known
The way to
that.
say
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah,
in
yeah,
Hebrew
yeah.
is Yeshu. That's the way. And you ask any Israeli, anyone,
Okay.
they'll tell you Yeshu.
Okay.
The only ones that will tell you otherwise are Jews for Jesus or someone that studied history and whatnot.
Okay.
Somebody.
Yeah, Yeshua.
Yeshua. Yeah, because I said that. That's not.
Yeah.
So Yeshu, it actually stands for Imach Shimo V'Zichro. May his name be forgotten from history.
Dang.
So every time we say the word Jesus, we're actually saying something derogatory. So if we were to meet a Christian, we wouldn't mean to say anything bad about it. Like, oh, you worship Yeshu. You worship, may God, we forget his name from history.
Sorry. Yeah, no,
But you get what I'm
saying.
saying. So yes, there does need to be, and we're seeing this a lot in the 21st century where we're starting to, like, I'll give an example, working with, people with like Down syndrome, right? Back in the day when I was a kid, mongoloid was the proper way to, and then retard, right? And then now it's, so there's,
Because
we're
language
changing.
evolves too.
Absolutely.
And it's not even about,
But
people
people
say,
don't.
oh, you're being PC and you're being PC, and it's no, because language changes meaning, whether it's that or whether it's describing a table, like things change and we have to.
But people don't. And it's very hard for people to change,
It's very
especially
hard
if they're used to something.
But you know what? I would like them to at least try.
So
Right?
that's
the effort in,
so
right?
that is
Try.
something, and I think what you should be doing, quote unquote, with your story.
He wrote it in Hebrew.
Yeah, Yeshu. There you go.
And
He wrote it Yeshu, right? Which literally Imach Shimo V'Zichro, and he has no idea, and he's thinking that hey, this is how we call it. Yeah, thank you very much. Nice, very good. We have to, and again, this was something to tell you. To try and change that and to bring it to bring it to light that certain words are offensive, how you really feel, because we know, but we can't put a face to it.
Right.
And sometimes we need to, like, we knew about the Holocaust, but how many people, non-Jewish people's life changed after seeing Schindler's List? Or Escape from Sobibor, or any of those movies. And it's just a film. It's just an Oscar-winning film.
Yeah.
But something changed. So if we actually put it out, and we talk about it more, we're going to be more aware of how we're saying things and how we treat. Like right now, I went to when I went to Thailand and I met some of the Russians. I asked them. We just talked about it briefly about me being Jewish and all that. And he's like, I don't understand why people hate you, blah blah blah. But every time there's a conversation about money, they have to use the word Jew. And I said, well, do you ever tell them anything like about that? Do you ever tell them to stop? It's like, no, it's kind of part of our culture. So we can either accept it, live with it, know that it's bad and just accept it, or we can say, hey, man, I'm not Jewish, but don't say that.
Be the brave
like,
one.
stand up, right? And start to make the change. I think
be an ally.
It should
actually be an ally. Don't just say you are.
And I'm going to say something that's a little bit, it could sound bad. But I want to see more diverse people talking about those changes, as opposed to always these white people who are coming out, who are kind of like,
no, I'm sorry.
The reason I want to see that, because you know what, all of a sudden it's like they're talking about, we should be better. I want to see the real story. I want to see the people who are suffering, the people who are actually
absolutely, and we have
going
to be part
through
of
it.
The conversation.
Right.
There is no conversation. I mean, one of the most frustrating things is people who tell my story, and it's not their story. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and thinking that we need it. It has to be about us.
Right.
Said by us about us.
Right.
Because I've experienced it. So
you have to bring that emotion into it so that audience gets captivated.
And they have to understand how it makes me. I'm
right.
going to say me.
Yeah.
Feel.
Because
so and the other part of it, it's not all about bad white Jew. It's not about that.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Sometimes there's an element of people just not knowing because that's how it's always been.
Right.
And they don't know what to do. And I always say to them, and they say, well, how do we start a conversation? I'm like, part of me kind of smiles because it's like, how do you start a conversation? I'm not like some weird thing that you have to figure out. But I do get what they say. So what I say to them, because they say we're naturally curious, and I said, I get Jewish geography. I get being curious. I get wanting to know people's stories. But here's the thing. I said, instead of coming up to me in the first minute after I've said my name, which you're puzzling about too, because you're like, Rivka Israeli? Rivka, Rivka. I said, instead of immediately the next thing you say out of your mouth is, so how are you Jewish?
Right.
Perhaps the next thing out of your mouth should be germane to the situation, like whether it's Shabbat or here's a thought, how are you? Not how are you Jewish,
right.
but how are you? And if
Or
you want
here's
to,
a thought,
and if
why
you,
don't you just get to know the person throughout
Exactly.
the time?
But I
Yes,
don't. I
and-
think because it's guys. In a utopian world, yes, but I think it's still different, and it's still going to take time.
It's
Just
not. If you
but
just put it,
there's still-
and that's what I say to people. It's actually not different.
But
I am a
people
Jew
are-
in a synagogue.
No, 100%.
not different.
It would be weird if the
Yeah.
rabbi asked you that question.
And the rabbi
And of course he does. That's the thing, because they want to know. By the way, before I got married, my mom is blonde, blue eyes, and then the rabbi, I want to see her certificate.
But you know
and
what? Rabbis don't ask that question. I'll tell you
it's
something.
good that they don't.
In my experience, I'll tell you who doesn't ask me that question. Rabbis, because they know better and they know it's not what you ask, unless I am getting married or something that requires proof of Jewish status, they don't ask. The other people who don't ask, I can walk into a Chabad, I will not be asked. I will be handed a prayer book. I will be told where to sit.
Amazing.
But I will not be asked. Others ask me. And I said, because their first assumption is, if I'm in your synagogue, if I'm in an Orthodox synagogue, I know where I am.
Right.
And I know where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
So they don't ask. They don't come up to me and say, excuse me, are you Ethiopian?
Yeah.
They don't ask.
Right.
They say, Shabbat Shalom, or depending on the synagogue, good Shabbat.
So I have a suggestion, and you're already doing it. So the suggestion is more to elaborate on things that you're doing. But it's really to go out and do these talks.
Absolutely.
And get other people, not just black, but like Asian and, whatever
Which
else
I'm
is out there, Indian.
trying to do.
Because clearly there's a lot, right? And to go out and have like a panel around the city of Toronto, maybe to start, and just to kind of reintroduce. And I feel that if more people went out and they saw it more and they heard the story, then they themselves will know that.
Familiar, right?
Absolutely, but right now it's taboo.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is, because you see a black, like Rivka. I have to be honest, and I told you.
Here's the thought.
Just 1 second. Rivka called me,
Yeah.
for the class, when she wanted to learn Hebrew,
I
and
have
she
no
said Rivka,
accent, too.
and she doesn't, no, but I have. Okay,
I know that's part of it.
Here's a Canadian person,
Just right
lives in Balfours and Steeles, tells me to come and she really wants to learn
Maybe she's
Hebrew.
Russian.
It's totally
Who knows,
possible.
right?
Bathers and
Right
Steele.
So
I have no accent.
her name. Wait.
Right?
So her neighbor next door is Russian,
Yeah.
and I'm in the elevator with her, and she asks me like, "What am I doing in the building?" Because she's this curious old Russian lady. She has to know everything. KGB. And then I go, "Oh, I'm going to teach the lady next door." She's like, "Oh yeah, she has a lot of deliveries. She's a little." So so already I got this like something is off here, and I'm coming to somebody's house. So I walk in and she opens the door. Now I didn't do one of these. It was like, okay, but clearly I was caught off guard.
I get that anyway.
And then I walk.
My voice.
So then I walk in the home and I
Mm-hmm.
see all these Jewish books, and you took me on a tour and you showed me your houses and all that. And I was like, she's really into this.
Too, they're beautiful.
So she's really into the religion. Like this person really took this conversion stuff.
I usually wear mine today.
I usually wear a star, baby.
My Hamsa.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you were even getting more and more confused.
So I felt like I needed to ask just for the sake of conversation, because it just, I was.
And in the context, it makes perfect sense.
But
in the context,
again,
it makes perfect
I
sense.
feel like there's a lot of people, they just don't realize
And you
what
didn't
they're
say
doing.
it straight away.
No, of course
you didn't
not.
say, I get it.
I didn't even freak
Ron,
out.
I get it in the first breath.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I said to people, I said, if you want to elicit my story,
Yeah.
why don't you share yours first?
Right.
And I'll tell you a good example. I went to a wedding in Montreal, and it was a Chabad wedding, and I already was like, okay, let's see what happens in Montreal. And we're standing outside, and there's this gentleman there, and I was, you're just bracing yourself for something, right? Because not just because of how I look, because I'm also kind of a stranger. Because it's like, anyway, so fine. He says to me, he starts telling me about himself. Just out of the blue. This older gentleman, he's telling me where he was born, where, da-da-da. And he says, and what about you? And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, that's how you do it.
Right.
That's how you do it. And so I told him a little bit about me and about Jamaica. And then it was a beautiful conversation because then he said, I love Jamaica. He goes, I've been there, like he said, for 25 years. I was there for 3 months a year.
Wow.
So, but that's how you do it. You share and I will share.
But how? So that's the thing. How do you bring it in? You have to talk about it. Because as I said, like even within the Ethiopian, I'm sharing stuff about myself.
Yeah.
So some of it may sound racist, but I'm telling you literally about my life. And when I was, with my first black girl, I didn't know. Like I was like, maybe the skin is different. She smelled like the beach. Because she had lotion, right? Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that.
No, but that's the thing. It's just like it wasn't a part of the culture. I didn't see a black person until I moved to Canada. I never saw an Asian person until I moved to Canada. So everything was strange, but it didn't come from a place of like, ew, what is this? It came more from I'd like to know more. And the more I got to know, the more like I played basketball, so like I got to know more of different cultures. Like I became more immersed in it, but there was still this curiosity. But I feel like there's certain people who are curious and they want to know, and there's certain people who are curious not to know. And my whole thing is like, how do we bring it to the forefront for people to be curious to know, and then maybe we can collaborate, come together, and forget about all this racism, because people didn't believe that when we're going to be in Israel, that the Sephardics and the Ashkenazis will actually get together. And today, you could see it all over the place. That forget just Ashkenazis, Sephardics, Ethiopians marrying Moroccans and marrying Ashkenazis, and we're seeing that like regularly. So it's going to take some time, but I think what you're doing is wonderful in terms of like your documentary. But is there like a film that you're working on now that it comes to really like that you're doing a diversity, or is this the movie that you're actually working on?
I'm actually working on.
So tell us a little bit about where you're at, what you still need to do.
Still doing a lot of B-roll.
Okay.
Like a lot. So what I've done so far is
B-roll, for those that don't know, is basically shots
just
outside. So it's just visuals, not a person
everything.
speaking. It's just
yeah.
A-roll is the person that's there.
Yeah, and I've done some interviews. We were in Israel for 3 weeks, December to January. So it was the best. She was still there, but that's a whole other story. Anyways, so part of my trip was also to interview people. So I got to interview quite a range of diversity. So some African American Jews who had made Aliyah. One of them, I think she's been there 20 years or something. One more recently, and went through quite the struggle actually with Misrat Havni. So I got her story. It was really kind of ugly. Also, a good friend of mine, Ronan, who is a Jew of Indian descent. He was born in Israel, but his parents made Aliyah, which was a different Aliyah. We tend to think of them in blocks, but there are differences. For example, when the Indian Jewish population came and how they were fed into Israel, so we talked about that. I talked to a Yemenite born in Israel. Okay. And I did it. I actually, for them, the interviews were also conducted in Hebrew because that's their first language, and I really wanted to get immersed. Yeah, and I wanted them to be able to speak freely, and not have to figure the words. So, plus, I'm going to go to the U.S. I'm going to go across Canada. I've done filming in Jamaica.
So what is the ultimate goal of that film?
The ultimate goal is to really it's like the ultimate goals.
Okay,
so
great. Okay.
One of the goals is to show people how diverse we are. So I would like my audience is not the people who are diverse, because we know that already, right? It's the people who don't realize how diverse we are. So it's to show them that, and also to get a sense of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Like the reality of life for you.
Totally reality check to make you think, oh, I didn't realize, right?
Do you feel that after, and I feel this about many movies, where you're trying to put something out and people get a completely different message. So, for example, here you are trying to bring something about diversity and acceptance, and yet, the focus would be on things that kind of like negative from the Jewish part. So now your average white Jew is sitting there watching this movie and saying, "Oh my God, like you're making us look awful," and forget that white Jew. Watch that white person who's not Jewish who's watching that film saying the same thing. Yeah. So, right? So all of a sudden,
can't even stand each
other.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Because
and
that's
is
potentially
not the crux of the film.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
Because there are good stories in there.
Right.
There are stories about what we eat
mm-hmm.
and how the traditions differ.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it's a learning experience for all of us.
Right.
Right?
You know what I would love to see
mm-hmm.
is some of the people that you interview, because I'm sure that they're across the globe,
mm-hmm.
so you can't get them into one room. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of the people that you know here in Toronto, get them together and like do somewhat of a potluck and
okay,
a round
you're
table.
taking one of my ideas, so stop talking.
I'm sorry.
That is part of it.
Yeah,
that
I'm
and
really
that's
excited. Like I'm
food.
getting really excited
and just the
for
conversation.
That is
over
like
food.
you're talking to me
right?
about the like because I want to.
Food binds us.
For me,
for
yeah,
sure.
that's
what
part
of it.
As
so
soon
it's
as I hear
not
them,
just
like, bring
about
the
how
food in. I want to bring
crappy
the
we
food
are.
in.
Right. But I feel like people might get the wrong message.
That is down to me.
Right. So as a documentarian,
absolutely, it's down to me to make sure I
get the
because
message,
people will always eat. And they may hone in on different things, but it's up to me to make sure that the message I want to send is out there. Another bit of it is I'm also tying it into the feelings about Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of, I found in my travels and in speaking to members of our great family,
mm-hmm.
I think there are certain perceptions of how we feel about what I call the situation.
Okay.
What side are we on in the situation in Israel?
Mm-hmm.
And what are Jews of color's view on Israel? Because sometimes we hear bad stories, right? So I'm also getting pieces of that
mm-hmm.
in it to see. And it's kind of like, here's my hypothesis, and as I interview people, I want to see how it teases out.
Right.
How do Jews of color feel differently than people that aren't Jews of color?
And
maybe they do, maybe they don't.
But here's
the thing is, the primary
mm-hmm.
primary thing that I've been hearing that I've met, and I haven't met a lot of Jews of color,
mm-hmm.
it's not a great experience. And that is what we need to change at the core. It's like it shouldn't be I shouldn't hear bad experiences
mm-hmm.
from our own people to our own people. There's no excuse. Like there's no reason for it. It's disgusting. Mm-hmm. Like you can't say you're holier than thou and then with the same fucking mouth be not. You know what I mean? Like just
no, you're right.
I understand what you're saying, but again, mm-hmm. I feel every culture, Russians included,
of course,
feel discrimination at one point mm-hmm. or another. When I remember in 1993. So my parents came to Israel when they were kids. Mm-hmm. And we left to come to Toronto, and then mm-hmm. after we got our Canadian citizenship, we came to Israel, and my mom was walking down the street, and somebody called her like a Russian whore or whatnot. Mm-hmm. She's like, "What? Like I'm Israeli, like I grew up here. How could you say something like this?" Mm-hmm. Everybody experiences some sort of racism or some sort of hatred, and it doesn't matter if it's coming from a white person, black person, brown person. It doesn't really matter. But the point I'm trying to say is that we're all experiencing it at some point in our lives. We just have to talk about, and even white people should be sharing their experiences of how they felt. I know some, for example, white people who came into Moroccan families who they never felt that they were involved. Like, for example, Russian food sometimes is tasty, depending on like what you're eating. You go to a Russian restaurant. Well, you go to a Russian restaurant, there's enough to eat, mm-hmm. right? Let's be honest, right? But like the Russian kitchen, maybe it's more bland, but there is, right? So there's like all these stereotypes where, oh, you're Russian. What do you know from food? Right? It's like, well, I eat.
So many.
I eat. Yeah. Well,
but
Sirnikis. No, but I don't even eat like that stuff. But the point is, it's more about like we live through our stereotypes, stuff that we know, So like and we have to. I don't want to say it's never going to be erased. You're always going to have the judgment. And I think what Israel did, but what Israel did really well, and I think they still do, and I think this is the problem where like there's a problem in the States and in Canada where we take things a little bit too personal. where like like in Israel we can laugh at ourselves very regular. Like if I have a Kafkazi friend, I'll make fun of him. I'll make fun of his wife's hairy back. If it's right, we just know because these types of we know
Of course,
that.
the Kafkazi has to have a
Well,
hairy
well,
back.
the Georgians
Like,
too.
seriously?
I, by the way, do not have a hairy back. Thank you very much.
I'm not going to
Stay
make
away
any
from back
comments.
hair, okay?
Yeah.
Just stay away from back hair.
But there are certain like stereotypes, but we're laughing at it.
Yeah.
Like we make fun of ourselves,
Yeah.
and I think that's something very Jewish.
Right.
I
But I also want you to appreciate, because I do get it. At any point, there is always some ethnic group or I'll say ethnic group who's at the bottom.
Yeah.
They're at some point.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
Always.
like, you used to say with immigration, last in is usually, last in gets the worst, and then they climb up the ladder, and then the next one in gets the worst. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But as I say to people, and this is going to sound kind of disjointed, but it'll come together. There is this movement, I like to call it, the Jews are not white movement.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes up all the time because it's used to say, well, I don't know, what do you mean Jews of color? Well, Jews aren't white. And I always say to them, I said, at any given point in history, there's been a point in history where Jews are considered white. There's been a point in history where Jews are not considered white. I said, but think about it. I said, if your identity, your racial identity can be that fluid, I would like you to really think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there is no point in history as a Jew of color will I ever be considered white.
Yeah.
Right? Ever.
You can't change
I
that.
can't change it.
Yeah.
So I may not know if you're Russian.
Right.
But you will always know I'm black.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
And you have to also appreciate that. So there's a lot of work, but it's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not all doom and gloom. If it was doom and gloom for me, I would remove myself from the Jewish community.
Well, you're
because
also
nobody needs to live like
no,
that,
but think
right?
about it. You're on the show for that specific
one
reason.
needs
Here
it.
you have like these two white people, right? Like and inviting
Two fellow Jews.
two fellow Jews. I think you said the two fat ones because I was talking about myself.
No, I never say that.
No, not on camera. No, but again, I think that the way to really end off is information, is really provide knowledge to people and sharing your story. And I think what you should do, and again, this is should meaning my opinion, is interview some of the white people too, and ask them about Jew, and ask them maybe if they ever felt racism. Because I'll give you an example of your average person. She's from Azerbaijan, and it says Jew on her passport, a passport in 1989.
Really?
It didn't recognize her as from that place.
Actually,
So
I didn't have a passport.
Well,
I
your
was in
parents'
my
passport.
mom's
on that
passport. Yeah.
But it would say Jew, right? So
Right,
how
right,
would you?
right.
How do you feel like that? You're all of a sudden not like you live among everybody. You speak the language. You look like
Well,
everybody.
even in our passports now, it says Caucasian. It says you can pick other now or whatever it is.
I don't think it says Caucasian on my passport.
It says other, right? But
No,
like,
no,
you
no,
can
no,
have
it doesn't say color.
Passport.
It doesn't even say
says,
religion. No.
passport
Nationality.
says where
Where you're born.
Where you're born.
Where you're born.
That was the change
That's
that they
it.
put
Yeah.
in it.
So where you're born.
Yeah.
I mean, soon we're going to be so progressive. Like it's
Yeah.
just going to be
And I
whatever.
think that's also a Canadian thing. I don't know what an American passport.
I think it's
looks
also.
like.
I think it's also
We don't
nationality.
do race.
No.
We don't do race data
No.
in Canada.
No.
We're very different that way.
No.
From the U.S. does a lot of stats around race.
I
Yeah.
remember actually like applications where
But you can ignore it. Like we're not
You
that.
can.
Not
Like,
always.
no, but I'm
Not
saying, like,
always.
Yeah,
Not
we're not
always.
that nitpicky
Yeah,
about
yeah.
race.
no, but like I
Yeah.
have like seen it on applications. That's
absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
And they're like
Absolutely.
it's recently been phased
Yeah.
out more or less, but like
I feel like
so is gender.
there's
Gender's
now
completely
though
out.
like almost it's become and it's to our fault that it's becoming like there's reverse racism that's now. And it shouldn't be this way. It should be like if you want to level something, you don't bring the other person down.
Exactly.
And I feel that that's sort of
Exactly.
what's happening right now.
Yeah.
With like let's even forget colors. Let's talk about sexes.
Mhm.
Where right now we want to elevate women, and by elevating women, we're somewhat bring men down. And why would you do that? Like let the women
Elevate
grow. Let
everything
them.
together.
Let's work.
Yeah.
Let's work
Yeah.
together. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a man and woman. Like they're meant to be together.
You're quite
So
correct
I
on
think
that.
I think
That's
at
like
the
a
same
human
time,
thing, yeah.
where
Mhm.
for this type of conversation, we should be focusing like maybe everybody shared their story, and if we are the Jewish people, diversity is with everyone. There's a person by the name of I don't know if you remember her. Do you remember the show? I think it was called I forget. it's not Gay Corner, but something, I forget the name of it. Irshad Manji?
Oh.
Irshad Manji, do you remember her? She used to have glasses. She's a speaker. She's Muslim. She's a lesbian. Anyway, so Irsha Manji.
That sounds familiar.
She was very popular. She had like a gay show.
Yeah, no, it doesn't ring a bell at all.
Queer something, or please help me if you guys remember the name of the show. And she went to Israel.
Okay.
And on a trip, and she's Muslim again, gay, and kind of goes against the grain, right? And she arrives to Israel, and she came back, and she wanted to do a talk about it. She wanted to do a talk about diversity, and she saw like all the different types of Jews that live around and how they live, and she kind of brought that back, as opposed to just looking at like, well, these people are living worse, or these people are living worse. She talked mostly about the Jewish diversity that you don't have in other cultures.
I'm telling you.
You go to Russia right now, and there's going to be 500 Russians. How many of them do you think are going to be black?
Right?
No way. Not even close. Not even close. Asians, yes, because they share a border. But you're not going to find like many.
Kazakhstan,
like my Uber driver.
What? It's Asian.
Asian,
Well, you're talking about
Asian
Mongolians
Russian,
who came, and there's a lot of
my Asian
South
Russian
Koreans. Sorry?
My Asian Russian Uber driver the other day.
Your Asian Russian Uber driver? But he's probably from where? From Uzbekistan?
Yeah. Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan?
Yes,
Well, all those
yeah.
places.
But the one thing I have to say, because sometimes people are really hard on Israel, and the one thing that I will always say is, I didn't have, I'm going to separate the government of Israel from the people of Israel.
That's a huge.
Okay? Because that's big.
Yeah.
In terms of the people of Israel, the most crazy, welcoming people. Non-issue. Their issue wasn't where you're, like, are you Jewish? That wasn't, they didn't give a crap, right? Their thing was, what country was I from?
Right.
They were just fascinated that I was from Canada. So there, it was so much, it was easier.
Yeah.
It was like, no, you didn't have the questions. Like here, you always have to almost overprove that you're Jewish.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like, let me tell you, I can recite the entire 630. You know what I mean? Like, they make you feel like you have to keep trying.
Right.
Israel, she's Jewish, she's Jewish.
Yeah,
Done. Done. End of conversation. And that is huge.
It has to do with, I hate to say that about my own people, but it's like about elite, and it's kind of like, who's a part of this elite group? And like, do we really want this person as a part of the elite group? And this is what it used to be back in the day, and that's why a lot of people rejected Jewish people, because they felt that the Jews felt that they're higher or they're better. Like, I had to explain to these kids the terms about chosen people, right? Like, why do people say that we're chosen? And like, I literally have to explain to them, it's got nothing to do with being chosen as being the best.
Right.
You're just chosen to spread God's word, and it's kind of like you're chosen to clean up this room. Is that a gift or not a gift, right? You're chosen to suffer for the rest of your life. Is that a gift or not? But there's this elitist type of ideas that a lot of Jewish people have, but again, through communication, through like shows like these, through talks at synagogues, through talks in schools, like going to chat, for example.
That time, right? It's 10:30 already.
It is 10:23. Yeah.
There was an interesting question. Somebody told me to put down my phone.
Somebody. Yeah, it wasn't a question, but do we have our phone here at all? No, I don't know.
I thought that was weird. So
yeah,
it made me
it's
look
Esther.
around
I know.
too.
Can someone tell her to put down the phone? And it's rude, but I don't see any phone.
Yeah, so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's my friend Esther. I don't know. Usually, I have no idea. But the point I want to try to say is really, let's try and elevate. Let's try and teach. Let's engage. And I think through engagement, just like that gay comment that I said, I'm telling you, I've never used that term again.
Yeah.
And really, it came with no malice, like nothing of the sort. And it was just a comment, but I realized, hey, that's offensive. And today I taught at a school where a kid, as a joke, used the F word, F-A-G. And as something that, and I had a conversation with him, and I said, and like literally in front of the class, I said, I know it's just a word to you. I totally understand, and I know that you're a kid. But if I were you, I'd get rid of that out of your vocabulary. I would not use it again. It's like, why? I didn't mean it in that way. And I was like, you're right. You didn't mean it that way. But all of a sudden, somebody finds this offensive, and you're hurting somebody's feelings, and they can complain. You can get suspended over what? Say something so stupid. Just get it out of your vocabulary. Don't use it again. And there you go. Done and done. And I think people just have a hard time letting go. Again, because I don't feel like they're very much racist. I don't feel like a lot of white people just hate black people. They're just like, they like their own more. And they just want it that way, and but they're just not open to the idea of change. And I think that we need to understand that that's what makes the Jewish people amazing, that we are about change. And again, David, King Solomon, it brought all these people together for not just for peace, but for more than that, and for our nation to grow. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you.
It's honestly like it's wonderful. We're getting like a lot of interesting guests that I think we're learning from.
Great. Thank you for asking me. I really enjoyed it.
A pleasure. I mean, I've always been intrigued.
I drank a lot of water.
Well, that's okay. There's 2 bathrooms here if you want to
But
use
yeah,
any
no,
of
it was
them.
great. So I appreciate it. Thank
We'd
you
like
so
to
much.
kind of move on to some small segments. Maybe we'll cut it down. Let's use like maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
2 or 3 like mini segments.
I'm literally yawning. I'm trying to, because I stopped drinking coffee, by the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
You also said before the show that you're going to tell us about stopping to curse.
Yeah, well, I tried not to curse this episode. Did you not notice?
I heard curses.
I heard
thought
there was
she
like
Can
maybe
I say
3
this?
or 4.
I thought she was really good.
Well, wait. I didn't say that.
Compared to how much I was cursing before we pushed record, I was very good.
Okay.
I might have cursed maybe 5 times.
Okay.
And that was the challenge today for me, trying not to curse as much.
Oh, wait, so this is just for today?
Yeah.
So we should have mentioned, no, let's do that for next week. And we'll mention it. And every time you say a curse
Well,
word.
I guess the permanent challenge is me trying not to curse.
I like this. I like this.
That means we're not having any other challenges because there's only one challenge an episode. So pick it. Do you want me not to curse, or do you never want to have an actual challenge?
What? We'll have other challenges. That has
No,
nothing
well,
to...
you can't have both. You
Why
can't
not
have
both?
your cake and eat
It's
it
not a
too.
challenge. It's not like
Sorry.
you came up with
Sorry,
this.
yes,
It's not like
I did. I came up with just the.
you didn't say
day.
that you're going to do it today. Am I
Yeah, I
correct?
said it was just for today.
No,
I
no, you said it
Are
now.
you calling my name?
You said it now.
Talk about my name.
Yeah. Don't
You
bring
two
Riska
sort it
into
out.
this.
Wait,
You
no,
two
no.
sort it out.
No.
It's not fair to her. She's a guest, and don't bring her into our mess. Okay?
There's no
not
mess.
fair.
You're the one cursing, not me. There's no mess.
I don't give a shit. I'll
Please
curse.
don't make me have to
One more
swear.
dollar goes in.
That's your
Wow.
dollar, not mine.
One more dollar
I
goes
did
in.
that on purpose.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
I'm
nonetheless,
smart.
you're very smart. The smartest person in the room. Why don't we pick? Stop it. Why don't we just pick some of the other topics that we have at hand?
So remember how the chair tosser
Oh yes.
going to court when you were leaving? We were
Yeah.
just talking about that.
Right. They caught
Well,
her. Yeah.
she tossed a chair and they tossed her out of hygiene school.
Okay.
Dental hygienist school. They tossed her out. She was in there.
Now, you know what?
I'm happy about that.
I'm not. I'll tell you why. Now, this person made a stupid mistake. She's an idiot.
Okay, there's
But that's the
stupid
price that she pays that
mistakes.
somebody kicks her out of a school? No, I'm sorry. Like,
Well, okay. First of all, if she
No.
was a doctor, if she was in school to become a doctor,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want her to be a doctor.
no, what do you know?
Okay?
What you do?
She's a hygienist. She's in people's mouths. You need to trust her. You need to be able
I'm
to
s-
know what
I-
she's doing is the right thing. She has to have a good frame of mind. Like, this person did the wrong thing.
Do you
She's
think-
old enough to know fucking better.
I am not.
I'm
no, no,
sorry to say. I'm passionate, okay? I'm going to say the F word if I want to.
Okay.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, she made a stupid decision.
Agreed.
But you know what? The school probably has guidelines, and she probably broke some of those guidelines, where she made them look bad or something that happened. She was in the news, and she made, like, where did you go to school? This is where I go to school. Oh, that they want people like that. They condone stuff like that.
I'm sorry. I disagree with that. I think we all make mistakes. I think how many people do the exact same
In
stupid
that
thing? They
case,
just don't feel.
Roseanne made a mistake, so she lost her TV
I think
show,
I think
right?
it's stupid. I think so. That's where I'm at. I think that people make mistakes.
Nope.
People
That's
make
one
mistakes,
word
and they should not be paying for this with their jobs. Yeah, they should. You know what? They should be examples like to go out. Look, I went into a rehab center, and I became a better person out of it. And now I can go and talk about what I experienced. And please be smart next time you do so and so. But to take somebody's
different.
livelihood and for punishments, like, yeah, she's going to pay a price, she's going to pay a fine, she might sit in jail.
She can,
That's
she can
fine.
always, we're not saying she got, like, she has her credits, she can always transfer to another school. She broke that school's guidelines.
But let's just forget about that specific
Do
school.
you think it's possible they had a code of conduct?
Yeah, of
But the thing,
course.
almost everybody sort of has a code of conduct, but in some ways, like, there's a code of conduct that should be, like, at the school, how you behave there. Outside of the house, like, outside of that particular place, Like, you're still a human being. You're still doing your own.
Yeah,
You're
but
still
they
doing your own
also
stuff.
they've also fired teachers who were doing, Playgirl on the side, and they fired them because it goes against their conduct policy, right?
Again,
So,
I personally feel that a lot of these are BS, and it shouldn't have. Yeah, I get it. They have every right to do it. I understand that they do, and people accept it, and you sign probably a contract. But I think it's not fair that people should lose their livelihood based on, a stupid mistake that they made. Now, they're going to pay the price. They still have to go through the court system. They still have to pay the fine. They still need to, she was, I mean, yes, she was laughing, so maybe she's like the wrong person when they were filming her. She thought she was like,
yeah.
she's maybe,
she's being nice,
she's maybe not that type of person.
That's not the example
That's not
is.
yeah, well, that's not who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but there are a lot of bad
I'm talking about. Yeah.
Right, but we're seeing a trend, and this is really where I'm going with this.
Yes.
We're seeing this trend of like somebody screwing up in the public eye, and they're taking everything away from them. And it's like, what are we teaching people? That just to kind of keep
But
quiet
even
about
if
it?
it's not in the public eye, if you do something wrong, like say even at work or outside of work, and it goes against something, and your boss finds out, like, listen, I'm sorry, I can't have people knowing about this. Like, you're an employee. That's a reflection of me.
It is a trend.
Like,
and
you're still gonna get fired if you're not a celebrity. That's still gonna happen. That's gonna happen in the real world.
I don't agree with it, and this is where really what I'm trying to say, that I don't feel that the job has anything to do with you as a person. And you know what? The job should help you out. Like, think about it. If you get caught like doing really bad drugs, you get fired. However, if you go, I'm an addict, you get help. So it's really about how.
Well, there's also
no, but it's really about how you get caught. But you're doing the
exact.
you're doing the exact same thing. It's just the way it's being seen. And I feel like people need to not just get second chances, but make a right. Like going out and talking about the wrongs that they've done, what lessons she's learned from this experience, how it hurt her, but taking away her livelihood or a chance to finish school.
How do you know?
But
How do you know she wasn't at school and talking to people, and they basically came to the conclusion that she hasn't learned her lesson? She thinks that this is a joke, and
you're talking about something very particular again, and I don't know her story, so I can't speak for her. Yeah. I'm speaking on the general idea of people being.
But some of them have been bad. Mm-hmm. Like there is, I hear what you're saying, but some of them, like the people who have called cops on people barbecuing, people have made
swimming
really horrible statements in cabs, and they've lost their jobs because, and I kind of get why.
Yeah. Because
it's their character. It's their character. And their character has come out when they think that no one's watching. Yeah. And these companies don't want to have.
But that's the thing. It's become big. It's become Big Brother, where you're really afraid of everything that you're doing.
But some of this shit's bad. They shouldn't have been doing it in the first place.
But a lot of people deserve. But a lot of people. What do you think these managers or these CEOs are doing? More horrible things.
Yeah, but we don't know about it.
But that's the only thing.
I mean, take for example the woman who accused the little boy who brushed against her. She accused the boy of sexually assaulting her.
Yeah.
And she went all crazy.
Yeah.
And she does. I think yes, she does, because that goes.
Did that happen at work?
No, but it goes to her character.
Well, okay.
It goes to her character.
But how many
she accused a child?
Let me tell you something. I know many people.
She was willing to sue the family.
Yeah, listen, I've had people who claimed rape. I mean,
it's like
there's crazy people out there.
I think for some of them it's very black and white. Yeah. I can't speak to chair thrower because I don't know the full story. Right. I saw the video and it was kind of.
It's pretty incriminating.
But I can't. And I do. I hear both. I hear both sides of what you're saying, and
I want to punish. I feel that the punishment should fit the crime, but I feel like we're going overboard because we're in the public eye.
Maybe.
And we're getting it to a point where we're making examples of these people, but a lot of us are scared to really be ourselves. To really talk, like, we talked about Thailand, and I was like, I'll give you the PG version.
But that's cool. But these people, if that's being themselves. Yeah. Damn, they need to be filmed. They need help.
Okay, well here's my question to you.
Help.
Just as
that's themselves.
Just as an example. Shoot. But you had Elon Musk, right, who smoked weed on one of our favorite show, right? And like he was criticized for it, and he's criticized also by people who actually smoke. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's like, well, he's in the position. Shut them up, because the bottom line is like he shouldn't be punished for anything. Like he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I get
But
that.
the only reason people say is, well, he's Elon Musk. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't really need our.
Yeah.
But like, if it was somebody else who did the same thing,
Right.
he won't get that opportunity over something that.
Yeah. Well, maybe
Many
we
people-
should flip it. Maybe we should realize that maybe there comes a point though that we have to realize that everybody's now in the public eye. So if you watch what you post on Facebook, watch how you maybe there also has to be some onus of responsibility for the people themselves.
Right.
Like there is nothing that is private anymore. So
But it's a problem.
Watch yourself. Fix your behaviors. Know that.
Yeah.
You can ruin
But what happens?
has
What
a
happens to our
camera
society then? We're not being real. We're not being ourselves.
I hear you.
And it's like I even when I post stuff.
I hear that.
When I post stuff, I'm trying to be conscious. But like sometimes people tell me, Ron, you're putting like too much. Listen, I'm expressing my opinions, and I'm here for dialogue.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to talk, you just want to say that I'm wrong or whatnot, then walk away. But I sometimes have a lot to lose because I'm in the public eye.
Yeah,
like even
exactly.
things I say on the show where people can interpret it in their own way.
It's a tough call.
And it's a problem. Like you yourself, you could be saying something that you didn't even mean it, but somebody misunderstood it and took it to a different, and they'll play it for you, blah blah. And you can be fired from another place that you're working at.
Absolutely.
And for what? And you'd be okay with it?
Absolutely.
No, because you'd be very upset. Like, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah.
So I think we should be a little bit smarter about how we.
Yeah, no, I understand because it's happened to me on Facebook where I've posted stuff and have gotten like people have gone insane.
Yeah.
Like gone insane, and it's
Completely
like
nuts.
that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
That's not and it's like so now I dial it back on Facebook.
Mhm.
Look,
But doesn't it
it's
suck?
just like,
Doesn't it suck that you
Of course
can't be
it sucks.
yourself?
I'd
You
love
can't
to
be on
say-
your own page.
I would
So
love,
here,
I'd
we're
love
gonna
to even be able to tell people. off
We're
of
gonna
Facebook,
go.
but I
We're
can't.
gonna go to
Last segment.
last one. We're
Okay.
gonna do big cactus, small cactus. We're gonna do a woman climbed a jaguar fence to take a selfie with a jaguar, and the jaguar attacked her. And then she went back to the zoo and told them to improve their safety. Where she was the stupid idiot who chose to climb said fence that was there to protect her for her safety and take a selfie with this wild animal. Now, these are the type of idiotic people that we're surrounded by.
Yeah, there's
And
plenty
she
of
had
them.
the audacity to even go on the news and talk about it like she was serious. That was a small cactus. Big cactus is Disney bought out Fox.
Yes, they did. And
Now they own The Simpsons.
so actually, I saw The Simpsons. So The Simpsons predicted that Disney would
long
buy
time
them
ago.
on
Long
one of the
time
old
ago.
shows.
Really?
Yes, yes. But I mean, they're
Simpsons is kind of creepy
They-
that
yeah,
way,
yeah,
aren't
yeah,
they?
yeah,
They're
yeah.
like creepy
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way.
Yeah. No, it was
Nostradamus.
well, you know what's funny about
Donald
it?
Trump.
Wait.
Yeah.
So, do you remember the what is it? The Stonecutters episode? What was that all about? Do you remember that?
No,
The
I
Stonecutters?
don't. You have to-
It was about the Masons, like the
Like
the underground, like
the order.
yeah.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
those that kind of know what's really
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
And they did like this huge episode about it. They were like it was kind of creepy that show that they were putting it out there. So maybe you have like the writers of Simpsons who belong
Matt
to this
Groening.
Because
belong to this underground,
He's a
and
freaking-
you know
it's
he's
kinda
a
creepy.
space
because
traveling
there's too
to
many
time
coincidences when it comes to the
And you know what?
Simpsons.
There's no such thing as
Traveler.
coincidences.
Right.
No.
But then again, it's one of the only shows that's lasted for what, like 30 years now?
Yeah.
More than 30 years. I think it's
It was
1988.
88. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like
It started
31
off
years.
That's
with
pretty
like
impressive.
a
Tracy
50
Ullman.
Tracy
Ullman show, yeah.
Like a
Tracy
5-minute segment,
Yeah.
and then
And
it turned
Fox.
bigger, 15-minute,
Yeah.
and then because Tracy Ullman was actually on Fox.
Yeah.
So The Simpsons would play after people really started to like it. It started to play before Tracy Ullman, and she was on late. So
Well, it was a good show.
it was a great show.
I love Tracy Ullman.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
that.
actually-
She still
it was
has
a
a
great
show.
show.
Oh, yeah, she has the
Yeah,
lot of
but
stuff. She
it's
plays a lot of
Tracy
interesting
Ullman show.
characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like
funny
it.
though. She does so many accents, but when she speaks, it's British.
Very.
Like you
It's
kind
very-
of expecting
really,
her
yeah.
not to speak that language. Every time I think
Wow.
about her, though, I think about the Prince. What is it?
The Princess Bride.
The Princess Bride, where she
Mhm.
plays like the witch there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
With
So many people.
Bill. No, not Bill. The guy who does the Oscars all the time.
Now I've blanked.
Billy Crystal. There you
Yes.
go. Anyways, This was great. This was a great show. We learned a lot. Thank you. How'd you feel? How'd you feel? About
This
the book?
is fun.
Right?
It's like, can I have some more tea?
It's fine.
Water?
Water?
No.
There is some in there.
Next time
Next week we're also going to have a fun show. It's very much lady dominated the way I like it. So.
And the week after, I'm not here because it's my birthday.
Yes, so
it's my birthday. I'm gonna be drinking at my dinner table, getting drunk without you guys. So sorry.
I'm not jealous at all. Enjoy your alcohol.
I will.
Have fun with it. This was a great show. Want to thank first off our lovely guest,
really
Rivka.
are. You
Thank
were
you very much for being here
amazing.
today.
I gotta go home.
I can't
practice
wait
my
to see this
Hebrew homework
documentary.
now.
Yes. I'm coming. Wednesday you're coming to class, and Friday I will see you. So
Here's my homework.
absolutely. Just because I went on vacation doesn't mean you're on vacation.
Well, actually, yeah, it did.
You weren't what?
It meant that I was on vacation.
No, it did not. When I give you homework, you do the homework. That's how you get better. All right. Anyways.
You could have done it that night and had a vacation on the whole other time while you were
Well,
away.
but it's not about homework. It's not for me, people.
That
Homework
is
is for
me.
you.
It's
If
for
you don't
me.
get better,
Ani.
yeah. There you go. You'll get better this way. Lovely to have you back.
Thank you.
3 weeks ago when we had the
Love
show, we
to
missed
have
you a
you
little
back.
bit.
Oh, a little bit. I'm sure you missed me a lot, considering.
All right, now that we're being
what you're-
truthful, I didn't miss anyone really, because everything was fine. But no, I
He's tapping me because I don't. He
'Cause-
didn't want me to say what he said when we were off the air.
what did I say? Oh, about the guy looking at the
Dead air.
dead air. Yeah, well, it was clear. We actually had a conversation about the whole idea of dead air. You cannot have dead air. Like Ophir, who is one of our special. He watches the show every week, so we invited him to come on the show when she was gone, and he was just sitting there and staring at the comments and like the entire time.
Well, it's kind of
So
captivating.
right, it is right, but at the
Well,
end
I'm
of the day,
trying to
like
see
there's.
if there's actual comments. There's a lot.
Yeah.
that says
There are.
enjoying-
There are. Okay, actually,
Oh,
you know what? Why don't we give it a chance? Why don't we?
Oh, there's Nadia
Okay.
Mulcaver, my friend.
So what I meant was marching together was that we're successful when we work together at the time to prove a point, and we align ourselves then, and we can achieve it together. That's wonderful. So at least there's an explanation there.
Comment.
Hi Avi, yes, it's awesome to be back. Glad that you're tuning in. People are just putting people's names. Put the phone down. It's rude. We got that one. She is again. Ron, there are plenty of bigots, and we should not sweep under the carpet.
Mhm.
And it's a real issue in our community. That is true. No one. I mean, why would we sweep it under the carpet? We're clearly here to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's not the sweep. And this is really what the show's about. It's prickly on the outside, sweet on the inside. We want to be able to talk about the rough stuff and yet
Issues, the
find a
real
way
issues.
to make things better.
Mhm.
So again, thank you guys for
Thank
joining us.
you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
the audience.
guys.
Thank
you.
Till
Joining us.
next week, I'm not going to tell you the guest's name, but we're going to have one of the people. We're going to have Veronica, who is Erez's ex-wife, who's going to be coming to talk a little bit about Erez's situation. Hopefully, you guys are clicking on the link to be able to donate if you can. It's someone from our community that needs our help. Leukemia is, it's
Like
tough,
cancer.
and it's tough to see one of our own suffering. So if there's anything that you can do, or reach out to the family, I don't know really what you can do. Maybe Veronica next week will tell us. But you can see it on my page and share it. At least it's the least you can do. Just share it, so the right people will be able to put money. Actually, every time I put something where I want initiatives from people, they feel like I'm asking them for money, and it's more than money. It's like it's really asking people to share the information, and sometimes money is also a factor. There's those that can share, those that can like, those that can provide money, those that can provide any service. So don't stop yourself. Don't let your mindset stop you from doing something
believing.
positive. So if money that you don't have, share the information, because you never know. Maybe one day it's going to be you or someone that's important to you, and you'll want the same attention. So it is wishing you health, hoping that you recover fast. Want to see you back on your feet, buddy. And we love you. But next week we're going to dedicate a little bit more time to your cause. Click on the link. And for everybody out there who keeps on watching, thank you. We're happy to be back. And until next week, Shavua Tov.
Peace out.
And because we don't have our producer, I will have to go and press stop. So here we are.
Great.
And everybody got to see my belly.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye.
watching. We love you.
Leitrot, Shavua Tov, Laila